mention the questions. Do not.
Well, you've just mentioned it.
No, but what I mean is when it's working, do not mention the questions.
Right, okay.
What the hell is even that?
Hello all, welcome back to yet another episode of Talks with my mother. It's a week late because I cocked up on the last recording because I didn't realise the microphone wasn't working and I was waffling and it just didn't work and it was a little bit crap. To which my mum then told me when I brought it up to her, but she was more than happy for it to go out, regardless of how crap it was going to be.
I knew it was crap.
And I had to bring it up to say I don't think I'm going to do it, and then you went, yeah, I agree.
I know, because I was scared that you would have been offended.
We would have had some creative differences.
Yeah.
But anyway.
With me being the creative force behind this, of course.
Oh, obviously. So, we're giving it another go. We're trying a new format. So we'll see how this one turns out. So here we are. So basically, this episode is more about where WoeMan came from and kind of what it means to me as a little creative platform talking about and exploring male mental health and masculinity. So here we go.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
So I'd like to start because all of a sudden this WoeMan thing presented itself, and when you were locked in your room and I was asking what you were up to, you were working on your project,
Yes.
which turned out to be WoeMan. So I want to know, what was the thought behind it? Where did it all of a sudden spring from?
So WoeMan was my final year uni project, and it was kind of born out of a need to figure out what I was going to do for uni or find a subject matter that was going to actually be of interest. So I actually did final year uni work, considering it was all what's the word I'm looking for?
Go ahead, you got it.
Self-directed, because at times when I'm left to my own devices I get distracted, as we've already heard. So anyway, done a lot of self-reflective work through uni, a lot of writing, kind of looked back on like my kind of like childhood, growing up, and kind of what led me to the point of being at uni, thinking about what I'm going to do. And that just kind of opened up a whole lot of doors into kind of thinking about what I was kind of scared of growing up, things that have maybe been quite big moments in my life in terms of like things I've struggled with, and that kind of like exploration of like my own masculinity then led to me kind of thinking like, oh crap, like maybe I've had some like issues with my mental health, which is only coming to light now that I've kind of actually had to think about it. So then that led to me kind of thinking, right, so maybe I can kind of combine mental health, exploring masculinity and creativity in a way that can kind of like benefit other people and make the subject of talking about masculinity and mental health interesting rather than something that's a bit like taboo and hard to understand, because you know mental health in itself is hard to describe, but if you can kind of like show somebody a visual or kind of relate it to a piece of artwork or kind of to see somebody else talking about it, then it might make it easier for everybody else to digest.
Ooh, I never thought of it like that.
Oh, hello,
But why mental health? What was there a point where, because we'd never discussed mental health before that, I'd never even considered that you may have some issues with mental health. So why, and yes, it's kind of focused on creativity, but why creativity and specifically mental health?
Well, I think just because creativity, like, I mean, through school, like, art was never something I took note of as much as, like, I knew I enjoyed art. No one told me when I was in school that like art was something that could like benefit you in the long run. Like there's like work and jobs to be had in art and the creative industry.
Help me, I'm poor.
You know, art to me was just kind of like fanning around with clay and making handprints to give to your mum back home, which you'd then just put in a box and never to be seen again.
Well, I have them,
In
and
a
I
box.
still look at them.
But
And I was just going to say, I have my Dalmatian dog pen holder still on my desk in work. So, you know, they're not just thrown away. I'm sure parents can relate to that. But anyway, so
art
go on,
only
so.
mothers can love. But anyway, so kind of going back to college after like finished sixth form, and then kind of discovering like, you know, my love for art, and you know, just kind of throwing my head back into like why art is good basically, made me kind of realise that, you know, art is something that can help people relate to issues that they kind of struggle to understand or talk about, and it's kind of like a visual door into people's lives, which when you don't have the words to describe something, you can kind of show in an image or a painting or a video. You know, for me, like poetry was a bit of a factor, so poetry allowed me to kind of describe how I was feeling just by kind of combining like metaphors to like nature and life and all, like, you know, loads of random aspects, where if somebody actually asked me how I was feeling, I'd probably be a bit like, oh crap.
So you found it easier to write those thoughts down in a way?
Slam poetry, yelling, angry, waving my hands a lot, specific point of view on things.
You said earlier, you know, when you set up WoeMan, it was to kind of research the link between creativity, masculinity, sexuality, you know, including masculinity and femininity, because femininity plays a part in it as well.
God, you've done well to remember these questions, haven't you? You've not looked at that once.
Shut up. But and we've had this conversation before because I've asked you about your sexuality. So how would you
This was like
define it?
what was it, like every like 3 months or so? It would just be mum going into the fridge, and then all of a sudden it was like, you know, if you are gay, I'd have no issue with that. Whilst just kind of like looking in the fridge for like something to eat, like where that kind of just crops into your head. I've no idea.
Well, because
Did you have a few moments when you thought, I think he is?
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
But I didn't want to make a big thing about it because to me it wouldn't have been a big thing. But because I knew that you were, and from some of the things that I was reading in your blogs and things, of course it got me thinking. So, and you've said no, quite definitely, but how would you define it then?
Right, so I'm not gay.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my gosh, stop fucking lying.
However, I think, because even then, like, I've had like a few friends or people when I'm out kind of like question like, or ask like, are you gay? Could you be gay?
So I'm not the only
Oh,
one.
you're not the only one.
Oh, but you would make me feel bad for asking.
It's my duty to annoy you. But I think that, like, because I mean, I would, back in the day, say through school, if people questioned if I was gay, I'd be like, no, of course not, like, I'm not gay, like, no way, like, what makes you think that, like, why do you think I'm gay, like, what's happening? Because I was like, in school you have like this fear of like sexuality and kind of opening up to the idea that like you might be gay, or what I used to think that I could become gay if I hung out with gay people, like by proxy, that like if I brushed shoulders with gay people they'd rub off on me. And it wasn't until maybe again, going back to college and and university and being around like gay people or people of just like, the LGBT community, like, people who've kind of had to deal and kind of understand their own sexuality.
If I can just, sorry for interrupting, but
I was on a roll there.
But since you were mixing with gay people and trans people and all of that, I have to say that you really found yourself and you flourished. That was for me a defining time in your development.
Yeah.
And it made you, I mean, not better because you've always been a lovely person, but you flourished and you just came out of yourself. And it's like you found yourself.
I blossomed.
You did, yes.
I think literally it is down to the fact that like the confidence I've found in like the gay community I hung around with in uni is that like they've been through shit. Like they've had to kind of go through this whole coming out, right, I am gay, like deal with the consequences, be it people giving me shit, but at the same time the fact that they got to that point through like self-exploration and realising, right, this is who I am, that then, I found gave them confidence to kind of be like, right, I know who I am now, like I can kind of start being more me, like as years go on. And I think for me it's kind of like, and I think for like I do think like a lot of heterosexual guys need to kind of have that like coming out moment to themselves, really, and almost kind of like the idea that like it's okay to like question your sexuality even if you're straight, but you're still kind of not entirely sure because you've not like explored the idea of, well, what does it mean to be gay? Like, what is like being gay?
For some men, it's kind of wearing a pink shirt for work.
But even wearing a pink shirt, like in school, if you wore pink, it was like, you're wearing pink, you're gay.
I know, but
it was nuts. And I said to you, last week, like I'd be in school and I'd like cross my legs, and people would be like, oh, how can you cross your legs? And I'm like, what's your
pink fluffy flip flops?
And like they'd be like, how can you cross your legs? Like, surely you can't cross your legs if you're a guy and you've got balls. And it's like,
Buffalo soldier in the heart of America, stolen from Africa.
Well, no. Well, now it's like, well, no, obviously you can. It's like more comfortable than sitting like that, in my opinion. But even out when people would say that, even I'd be like, oh yeah, like, you can't really, can you? Because you've got balls. Like, I'm going to sit like this. Because it's more masculine to sit like this. Well, it's not, but in school it was anyway. But just this idea of like, what is gay? Gay isn't sitting with your legs crossed and wearing a pink shirt.
I mean,
gay is who you are. And being able to explore that idea, and even as a straight bloke, being able to explore that notion of, right, I am straight. Like, kiss a bloke, who gives a shit? If you felt nothing from that, then cool, great. But that doesn't kind of, it doesn't make you any less or any more of a man because you've like kissed a bloke, you've just kissed a bloke.
Have you kissed a bloke?
Cut the cameras. Dead ass.
Right, well, we'll wrap it up there then, shall we? That's another episode done and dusted, which unfortunately for me mum, as she's just said, wasn't as funny as the other ones have maybe been. So sorry about that. While we're talking about something, a bit of a more serious episode, this one.
Bit of sarcasm there, everybody.
Bloody hell! All right. Well, all the best until next week. Next 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.